Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Everything MTG. My name is Justin, and today we're going to be covering the Commander 2018 deck lists. I apologize if this is a little late, but I had some midterm stuff going on, and unfortunately that takes precedence, and work also comes in the way. So unfortunately this comes last. I do want to make this video for you guys though. It is important to me. So we're going to be covering essentially a best of the rest of these spoiler cards. So I'm not going to really go over any of the cards I already spoiled. I will mention them as part of the deck list, and I'll pop up the cards on screen here that are new. They're not brand new, but they're new on this deck list, and they're what's going to be included. I'm not really going to cover lands too much, just because they're basic lands. I will pop up some of the special ones. We have a couple special ones here just so you guys can see that. I'm probably going to make 4 separate videos because this is going to take a little while considering there's 100 cards. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first one we're going to cover is Exquisite Invention, which is the red-blue Saheeli deck. So of course we have our commander, which is Saheeli the Gifted. We all know what she does. Pretty great effect. So we're going to jump into the lands. We have 15 islands and 12 mountains. We have 1 buried ruin, of course a command tower, a foundry of the consoles, which is tap, add waste, 5 tap, sack, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopters with flying. And I will cover that buried ruin quickly as well in case you guys don't know. It's tap, add waste, 2 tap, sack it, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. We also have Highland Lake, which is a red-blue tap land. Is it Boilerworks, which is a Ravnica bounce land? Is it Gilgate, another red-blue tap land? And Swiftwater Cliffs, which is a red-blue gain land. You gain 1 life when you play it. So we're going to jump into the spells here. We have Maverick Thopterist, which is a 3 colorless blue-red 2/2 human artificer with improvise. If you guys aren't familiar with that, your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 colorless. When Maverick Thopterist enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 colorless Thopters with flying. Pretty sweet, right on point with this deck. Our next card is Soul of New-Phyrexia, which is a 6-drop 6/6 artifact avatar. It has Trample. You can pay 5 colorless and give permanents you control indestructible until end of turn. And you can also pay 5 colorless to exile it from your graveyard and give permanents you control indestructible until end of turn. Nice little effect even if somebody removes it with a minus or something like that. You can help your guys out even from the graveyard. Our next card is Inkwell Leviathan. Pretty expensive at 7 colorless and double blue, but it is a 7/11 artifact creature Leviathan with Island Walk and Trample. It additionally has Shroud. If you guys aren't familiar with Shroud, it is very similar to Hexproof. It was the keyword they used before Hexproof. Hexproof is strictly better though, because what Shroud does is makes your creature untargetable by spells or abilities, including your own. Hexproof will allow you to target your own creatures with your spells and abilities so you can equip them, give them pump spells or other special things. So Shroud is not great, but it's better than nothing. Our next card is a great reprint. It's going to be Sharding Sphinx, 4 and double blue for a 4/4 artifact creature Sphinx with flying. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you can put a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying, of course, onto the battlefield. I'm not going to cover the with flying on Thopters. Thopters will always have flying, so I'm just going to skip that part from this point on. It's just a given. Next card here is Hellkite Igniter, 5 and double red for a 5/5 dragon. Has flying and haste, of course, it's a dragon. For 1 and a red, Hellkite Igniter gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Again, the synergy in this deck is just great. That's right on point. We have Bosch Iron Golem, which is an 8-drop colorless, of course, 6/7 legendary artifact golem. It has trample, and you can pay 3 and a red to sacrifice an artifact, and Bosch Iron Golem deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's CMC to any target. Pretty great. Nice little removal thing going on there. Our next card is Darksteel Juggernaut, which is a 5 colorless star power and toughness artifact creature Juggernaut. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control, including itself, so even if you have no other artifacts on the field, this will be a 1/1. And it has indestructible, but it has to attack each turn of Able. Possibly a very powerful card. If you find a way to give this thing trample, your opponents are going to have a little bit of a problem on their hands. Yeah, or of course flying would also, I mean, honestly, any sort of evasion on this thing is going to be bad news bears. Next card we have up is Duplicant. Pretty happy to see this card back. It's great. It's a 6-drop 2/4 artifact creature shapeshifter with imprint. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature. As far as I understand, this can be any non-token creature. It doesn't even have to be yours. As long as the card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature card exiled with it. It's still a shapeshifter, however. That is an excellent effect. I love that card. Our next card is a favorite of Amanda's. It's Myr Battlesphere. She played an entire deck themed around Myr, and this thing was the bane of our existence. It's a 7-drop, colorless of course, 4/7 artifact creature Myr Construct. When it enters the battlefield, you create 4 1/1 colorless Myr artifact creature tokens, and whenever Myr Battlesphere attacks, you may tap X untapped Myr you control. If you do, Myr Battlesphere gets +X/+O until end of turn and deals X damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Essentially a nice little slap in the face, unblockable damage there, even if they want to block the 4/7, but the 4/7's getting pumped from those tapped Myrs. So this thing is, it's a rolling ball of Myr. It's hard to handle, honestly. And even if you do handle it, because it's on the declare attacker step, you're getting hit with that damage from the tapped Myrs. Yeah, our Psychosis Crawler is the next creature here. It's a 5-drop artifact star. It's a artifact horror. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand, and whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. Great way to drain your opponents. This thing can get very powerful very quickly, especially in blue. If you guys manage to upgrade this deck at all and put some card draw in here, this thing is going to be dumb. Scuttling Doom Engine is our next card. It's interesting to see it back here, and not a bad, way and interesting. It's nice to see it. It's a 6 colorless drop 6/6 artifact construct. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and when it dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I'm really loving the fact that they've added a lot more removal into these decks, at least in this one. I haven't covered the other ones yet. Maybe there's not that much removal in those, but the removal here is nice to see. Give me 1 second here, guys. A little parched. I apologize. Our next card is Steel Hellkite, which is a 6 colorless 5/5 artifact dragon. Yep, you heard me right. Artifact dragon. Has flying, of course, it's a dragon. It's a 2 colorless activation here to give it 1/0, +1/+0 until end of turn. You can also pay X colorless and destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X, whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. You can only activate that ability once each turn, though. Very, very powerful. I love that. It's just great. Thopter Assembly is definitely a welcome addition to this deck. It's a 6 colorless 5/5 artifact Thopter with flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, you return Thopter Assembly to its owner's hand and create 5 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creatures. Amazing. I love this card. It's a great way to get instant board presence. It's just great. An amazing card right here, Ethereum Sculptor, 1 and a blue for a 1/2 artifact creature Vidalcan Artificer. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Of course, that is a welcome addition in an artifact-centric deck, making them cheaper, especially some of these. I mean, we're talking 6 drops, 7 drops. A lot of that's going on, so that's a very welcome addition. We also have Whirler Rogue for 2 and double blue. It's a 2/2 creature human rogue artificer. When it enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 colorless Thopters, and you can tap 2 untapped artifacts you control to give target creature unblockable this turn. Great effect to be swinging in with some pretty powerful stuff, especially something like Steel Hellkite, so you can get that damage in and start blowing up their stuff. You tap some artifacts, it doesn't matter if they tap or not, because they don't have to tap to use their abilities, or just a static effect or something crazy like that is an excellent way to do it. Or even just tapping 2 chump Thopters to get that severe damage through is amazing. We have our first Lord in the deck, which is Chief of the Foundry, 3 colorless 2/3 artifact construct. It gives other artifact creatures you control +1/+1. Pretty basic effect, but it's great. Next card is Pilgrim's Eye, which is a 3 colorless 1/1 artifact Thopter. Of course, it has flying. When it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a basic land card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, and then, of course, shuffle your library. Great way to filter some lands, shuffle your library up in case you're having some bad draws. Awesome card is awesome. We have Saheeli's Artistry, which is 4 and double blue for a sorcery. You can choose one or both of the modes that I'm going to describe here. You can first create a token that's a copy of target artifact and or create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. I like that card. Blasphemous Act is getting reprinted here, and that's wonderful because I was actually looking to buy one, and playing this deck, like I mentioned, it's great to have this removal. So it's an 8 and 1 red for sorcery. It costs 1 colorless less for each creature on the battlefield, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. Great board wiper, the Great Equalizer. Powerful effect. Wonderful. We also have Reverse Engineer here, which is 3 and double blue for a sorcery with Improvise. We already covered what that does. You draw 3 cards. I mean, this could legitimately be a 2-drop sorcery, draw 3. Nothing bad to say about that. Our next card is going to be Tidings, which is a 3 colorless, 2 blue for a sorcery, and you draw 4. Essentially the same thing as Reverse Engineer, just costs the legitimate amount because it doesn't have Improvise, and of course you draw 1 additional card. Chaos Warp is seeing a reprint here. It's always wonderful to see it. 2 and a red for an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield. Great for handling lands. Great if you have a 1/1 chump on your side of the field and you're looking to get something a little better upgraded maybe. That can probably flip into something amazing. You just hope it doesn't hit a sorcery or an instant, pretty much. Our next card up is Magma Quake. It's X and double red for an instant, and it deals X damage to each creature without flying in each planeswalker. A little more board clear. Love it. Into the Royal is something that I personally play in a lot of my control decks. It's 1 blue and 1 for an instant with kicker 1 and a blue. If you're not familiar, you can pay an additional 1 and a blue as you cast this spell or whatever the kicker cost is. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If Into the Royal was kicked, you draw a card. So if you pay 2 blue and 2 colorless for the kicker and the initial cost, you get to draw a card on top of the bounce. Our next card is Thirst for Knowledge. This makes a lot of sense in this deck. It's 2 and 1 blue for an instant. You get to draw 3 cards, and then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. So basically, draw 3, discard 1. Amazing. I'm really actually surprised to see this next card in here because it's so stupid in this deck, and I didn't think they would put this in as a reprint. We're looking at Blinkmoth Urn. It's a 5 colorless artifact at the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase. If Blinkmoth Urn is untapped, that player adds waste to his or her mana pool for each artifact he or she controls. That's simply amazing for the amount of artifacts you're going to be playing. And if you manage to pair this up with Whirler Rogue, you can tap this at the end of your step, so you get the effect, your opponent gets screwed. Doesn't matter if anything is unblockable or not, you're just screwing over your opponent until it comes back to your turn, it untaps, and you laugh all the way to the bank. Screw your opponents for getting any sort of value from your value engine. We have Mimic Vat, which is a 3 colorless artifact with imprint. Whenever a non-token creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can exile that card. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat to its owner's graveyard. Pay 3 and tap it to put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of the exiled card. It gains haste, and you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Recurable Stupidity. It's great. I love it. We have Mirror Works. That's not hard to say. 5 colorless artifact. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2 colorless, and if you do, you put a token that's a copy of that artifact onto the battlefield. Simply powerful. There's not much more that needs to be said about that. That's great. We also have Prototype Portal, which is a 4 colorless artifact, again with imprint. We're seeing that a lot here. When Prototype Portal enters the battlefield, you can exile an artifact card from your hand. Then you can pay X and tap it to put a token that's a copy of the exiled card onto the battlefield. X is the CMC of that card. Pretty powerful. All the imprint cards are great. They always let you recur something potentially powerful if you exile it. Yeah, you could put a, let's see, a soul ring on this thing and just get so many soul rings. Not like you need it with Blinkmoth Urn. Or, well, I guess it would really just cascade into nonsense at that point. We also have Unwinding Clock, which is a ridiculous add to this deck as well. It's a 4-drop artifact. You untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. I mean, this goes with the the Whirler Rogue Blinkmoth Urn combo, so you make sure you always have those 2 artifacts you need to tap it so they don't get the value. You can untap your blockers, you can untap your soul rings, save up for counter spells because you're playing blue or burn spells, whatever. Awesome. Commander Sphere is in here. Of course, we all know what it does. I'll cover it, though. 3-drop artifact. Tap, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and you can sacrifice it to draw 1 card. We also have Dreamstone Hedron, a little more ramp. 6-drop artifact. You can tap and add 3 wastes, and you can also pay 3, tap it, and sack it to draw 3. Our next card is also ramp. It's very similar to Dreamstone Hedron. I'm never sure which one to play in my decks. It is Hedron Archive, which is a 4-drop artifact. You tap and add 2 waste to your mana pool, and you can pay 2 and tap this, sack it to draw 2. Extremely similar. I guess it just depends on which one you want to play. In this case, you're playing both, so it doesn't matter. We also have Is It Signet. We all know what this does. 2-drop artifact. You can pay 1, tap it, and add Is It. That is 1 red and 1 blue to your mana pool. Our next card up is Magnifying Glass, which is a 3-drop artifact that allows you to add waste to your mana pool. You can pay 4 and tap to investigate. If you guys aren't familiar with the mechanic, it puts a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield with pay 2, sack the artifact, and draw a card. It's extremely powerful. It gives you a nice card draw engine. Not only that, but it's also counting as an artifact, the clue token. So you get the value off that for Blinkmoth Urn or Whirler Rogue, because it says you only have to pay 2 and sacrifice the artifact. So you can tap this all day for Whirler Rogue and still pay the 2, sack it, and get the value. Great. We have Mind Stone here, which is 2 colorless. Tap it, add 1 waste to your mana pool, pay 1, sack it, draw a card. The amount of ramp in this deck is simply ridiculous. Like, Blightsteel Colossus should be in here. If you guys are going to upgrade this deck, I'd probably put that in here, because you're going to be casting it for, like, turn 4. Wormcoil Engine would also be a great addition in here, but good luck with that. Prismatic Lens is a 2-drop artifact. You can tap it, add waste to your mana pool. Oh look, more ramp. You can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool instead if you'd like to do that. Great. We have Scrabbling Claws, 1 colorless. You can tap it, and target player removes a card in his or her graveyard from the game. Great for those pesky gods from Amonkhet. Keep coming back. I hate you. Pay 1, sacrifice the Scrabbling Claws, and remove target card in a graveyard from the game. You also draw a card. Nice effect. I like drawing cards. We have Soul Ring here. I'm not going to cover that. We have Swiftfoot Boots here. I'm not going to cover that. If you don't know what either of those do, no disrespect. You guys don't play Commander. We have Unstable Obelisk as our next card. 3-drop, tap, add waste, pay 7, tap, and sack it to destroy target permanent. Very good. More removal. We have Vessel of Endless Rest, which is a 3-drop artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. Weird. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is just adding so much more ramp. It's unbelievable. The next card is ramp. Worn Power Stone, 3-drop artifact. Enters tapped. Tap, add 2 waste. You're going to be casting things for days here. We have our first artifact land here, which is Darksteel Citadel. This counts as an artifact for your Whirler Rogue, technically, if you want to do that. Possibly wouldn't recommend it. Your Blinkmoth Urn and some other things like Improvise or whatever. Has Indestructible. You can tap and add waste. We have Great Furnace, which is the red artifact land. It taps and adds red, of course. We have Seat of the Synod, which is the blue artifact land, and it taps to add blue. Simply amazing. I am definitely surprised they printed these in here. They're a great addition, and they put all 3 in, which is amazing. We have Thopter Spy Network, which I'm not going to cover because I covered it in my other spoiler videos, and I believe I covered the rest of these in my other spoiler videos, but I will go over them quickly like I mentioned. We have Brutaclad Telcor Engineer, Tawnos, Urza's Apprentice, Echo Storm, Vidalcan Humiliator, Enchanter's Bane, Saheeli's Directive, our best friend Treasure Nabber, gonna break the game apparently, Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor, as you're all familiar with my saying of that, Keldor, it's like Skeletor, He-Man, suck it, Ancient Stone Idol, Coveted Jewel, Endless Atlas, Retrofitter Foundry, Aethergale, which I'm not sure I covered or not. I don't think I did, so I will cover it here. It's 3 colorless and a double blue for a sorcery. Return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. That card is unbelievably OP. The only thing that's bad about it is sorcery, but considering the amount of ramp in here, it's so easy to cast. It's amazing. You can just blow your opponents out with that so hard. We also have Loyal Drake, Loyal Apprentice, Geode Golem, pretty great guy there. Thopter Engineer, which I know I didn't cover. It's 2 and a red for a 1/3 Human Artificer. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter, and it also gives all artifact creatures you control haste. Fantastic card. Love that they added it in here. And our last card is going to be Forge of Heroes. Definitely not bad. Not a bad spread. I'm pretty happy with this deck. Amanda, I believe, already claimed wanting to pick this up, which is unfortunate because I really want to pick it up. So I'll probably end up picking up enchantments because I'll reserve judgment for you guys, but you know, Jund and Esper. Let me know what you guys think about those down in the comments below. Keep it PG. So we will try to get to the rest of the deck lists this week. I have a lot of work coming up. I'm still working on some midterm stuff, so I will work my hardest to get that out for you guys. I know it's going to be a little late, but hopefully this will help you out anyways, and you enjoy my sweet, soothing voice. Anyways, guys, I greatly appreciate you watching, keeping up with the deck lists, and the excitement of Commander 2018. We will see you guys next time right here at Everything MTG. Have a good one.